Night wrestling.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast with our hosts, Buddy Sotello Esquire, Evan Ginzburg, and Mike Lano. Evan, would you like to introduce our guest tonight?
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. I'm honored to have on Kim Artlip, who is the owner, promoter at Ignite Wrestling. And you could tell just that by the background behind her. It's everywhere. She's a true promoter, you could tell. And she's also a TEDx speaker, very impressive, and a 2021 Women Who Rock nominee. And we'll discuss all of this. Welcome to the show, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Welcome to Wrestling.
Buddy's hot, as you can tell. Yeah.
How
hot is it out there?
You don't know hot.
Well, it's been like over 100 pretty much all week long here in Northern California. We pay too much in rent to be subjected to these kind of temperature conditions.
I understand that.
Mike used to live up north, and he's in glorious Southern California, where I think it's only in the high 70s out there, right?
Well, I'm on the water, but we came back to Southern California after 40 years in the Bay Area, where it was always cooler. But now I'm happy where we are, on the beach by the water. But I know it's been in the national news, the horrific heat wave, all the global stuff going on out here. So if anybody, anyway, send us your cool weather and your water to the state of California if you got any to spare.
Exactly. So, Kim, please tell us how you got started. What got you started in your involvement in wrestling?
I've always been a fan of wrestling. I grew up watching it. I went to my first show in 1969, so that should tell you how old I am, slightly. And I just really enjoyed it. I had another.
Who was on the first card? Do you remember?
Bruno Sammartino and Batman.
Oh wow!
Tony Marino, Batman.
I'm not sure. I was 5 years old, so I'm not sure. It just says the Batman because I looked it up the other day because somebody didn't believe me and thought I had dreamed it. And I said, no, actually, February 1st, 1969, they were in New Martinsville, West Virginia.
No, that was Tony Marino, and they slapped him. He tried doing that in Bruno's Pittsburgh promotion that Vince McMahon Sr. allowed him to sort of run and book. It was quite a bit different and unique from the normal Tri-WF stuff. But no, that was Tony Marino, more famous for working for the Sheik in Detroit. But no, that was a big deal. They were stopped. I think even there he had his Robin come in like one or two times. It was sort of like the valet. He didn't wrestle. So it was very cool, and you're right on. You don't remember anybody else on the card, or who else was on that show?
I believe Putski might have been on the card. There was a lot of them. I just remember it was a tag team, and a bunch of people jumped Bruno, and the Batman came out and saved Bruno, and they ended up winning the match.
And that just
mentioned on that show, as well as a young John L. Sullivan, who later became our friend, the guy we miss, Johnny Valiant.
Yeah, I know Jimmy. I actually know Jimmy's wife. She lives here in Vero.
Mm. Or the wife before Angel?
Yes, Big Mama.
Okay.
Well, and of course, Evan has his stories about, Johnny Valiant and everything else that went on. Unfortunately, it's 2 years now almost.
3. Johnny.
3.
Yeah, Johnny's got 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable. Johnny and Nikolai went the same year, and Bruno right around the same time.
Right. So after going to that first incredible match, you were just so psyched up about wrestling that you stayed with it all that time?
Oh yeah, my dad. When I was little, my dad would take us, to the. We had like a little magazine bookstore, and I would go every month and get my wrestling magazines. Everyone else is buying comics. I'm buying wrestling magazines.
Wow.
And I was a huge Stan Hansen fan, and Chief J Strongbow, and all through the years. So when the opportunity came, I had a different business in 2015. I was at another show, and I was so unimpressed with it. I'll say that politely. that I looked at my husband and said, I could do this and I could do this better. And so I spent about a year talking to people and going to shows and seeing how they ran them, and then I did the complete opposite.
So Kim, let me briefly discuss the complete opposite. I've done this with Buddy 400 times. So when you do indie wrestling wrong, you have 14 matches. It goes 4 to 6 hours. You have endless ticket sellers who don't even own gear, who don't sell, etc., so on, and it becomes an endurance contest. I once saw 2 stars go into a cage at 12:15 at night, after midnight. If you put $1 million in front of me, I couldn't tell you who those 2 guys were because I was so numb by 12:15. So tell us the opposite side of this, how you as a promoter do things right.
I will say that I have done a show that had 9-10 matches once. That was the worst I ever did, and that was my rookie mistake. Anybody that wanted to call me mom and be my buddy and offer to pay on the titles to be in contention were automatically never booked.
Yes.
No, we run, our shows run about 2 hours, 2.5 tops. Every very friendly locker room. People don't hang out if you're not on the show, you're not in my locker room. If you want to bring your family, your family's going to buy a ticket. Not everybody's coming for free. I don't do hot dog and a handshake. If you tell me what your rate is, that's what I'm paying you. I'm not going to set and say, oh, sorry, dude, I can only afford $20, because I know that the guys coming from Orlando spend that much just in tolls to get from Orlando and back and to get, a drink. So I'm not going to insult people. I wanted to show people respect, and that's something I didn't see in some of the Florida companies. I'll not say all, but some.
So
yeah, I wish I worked for you.
What you're really saying is you're treating it as a business and professionally, as opposed to a circus like so many indies.
Well, yeah, I'm licensed. I'm an LLC. I'm licensed. I'm insured. I pay taxes. I do the whole 9 yards.
Can I send you my resume?
Yes.
Seriously.
He's the manager.
Yeah, no, but you obviously, are dealing with it in a way that, puts you on a different level. You put the pro in pro wrestling, which is impressive to me.
Well, I was a project account manager for a tech company, so doing projects and deadlines and lining stuff up and, working that way comes more comfortably to me rather than, it is weird because we just did a show and I had a guy that I paid and he goes, I haven't ever been paid in advance for a show before the show. And I was like, how long have you been wrestling? He's like, 5 years. I'm like, who the hell are you working for then?
Everybody else. He's working for everybody else pretty much.
Everybody and their brother that has a show. And it's like, you know what? I don't want to deal with pay at a show. So you got a PayPal, you have Cash App. I'm paying you before you get to the door. That's one less thing I have to deal with. That's
not proved to be risky ever at all?
No, I know where they all live. I know. I follow their wives on social media. They rip me off. I'll call their moms.
I've seen a lot of stuff, so it sounds like you're handling this professionally. Very quickly, if you don't know me, I've been shooting for decades for the newsstand magazines all over the place, but I'm more I see myself more as a historian, and I've written a lot about Ann Gunkel, who I think was one of the very first female promoters. Her husband, Ray Gunkel, died, in that match, not caused by, but in the match with Ox Baker. And then she was getting screwed in the Atlanta area by the promoter there and the bookers, which included some big-time guys like Bill Watts. And she beat them for about 1.5 years all over the state of Georgia, which was historic. And then also another female was Sheik's wife, Joyce Farhut, in Detroit, who helped him book, but she really wasn't technically a promoter. And there have been very few. Brittany Brown promoted with one of her, I forget which husband, but was promoting in New England. Very few. So big kudos to you for that, because it's a very small roster of women. And, you seem to have a handle on it from what I'm seeing right here. So that's just great. We need more, but do you know how many women are promoting, on the indies today? Because I've heard of Ignite. I've read about it often in the Observer and stuff like that, and seen it online. What areas in Florida? You're in Florida now, not West Virginia. What parts of Florida are you, and where are you promoting?
I'm in Central Florida. I'm halfway between Daytona and Fort Lauderdale on the East Coast. So like 90 minutes out of Orlando. I stay right in my area. I don't really travel. I mean, I've done a couple shows around, but the majority of every show I've done is in Vero Beach, which used to be Dodgertown. You guys might know more.
I've been there for the spring. It was always a blast in the 80s in particular, seeing all those legends there. Is there anything going on baseball-wise in Vero Beach? No. Everybody's in like Arizona now.
Dodgertown's still here. It's now the Jackie Robinson Training Center, and we do a lot of training and baseball camps here, but not a lot of games. Sometimes they'll do like specialty games, but St. Lucie Mets play about 30 minutes down the road.
What a blast it was to see. This was like 85, 86, 87. I went there. Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, all these total legends, Manny Moto, all these great Dodgers. There was even a Dodger named John Kennedy who was playing when the other John Kennedy was in the White House. Wow.
As a San Francisco Giants fan, you're killing me here. But
the Giants and the A's, because I haven't quite warmed up to the Dodgers yet, and that turncoat Met who screwed over the New York fans to come to work for the Dodgers. So no, my heart's still with the Giants and A's. But I grew up and was going and actually was able to shoot the Dodgers growing up in LA. So
Kim, tell me what you would feel maybe is a greater challenge for you being a woman promoter in a mostly male-dominated field, and how you've been able to cope with it and be as professional as you are in everything you do.
My biggest thing in the beginning, and I'm still kind of stuck on that, was respect. And then it took me about 3 years to realize that some people, no matter what I do and no matter what I achieve, they're never going to respect me because I'm not a vet. I didn't come out of the sport. And I am still in the same mindset that I will continue to do this as long as I'm having fun. And I'm going to do things the way I want to do them. And if people don't like the way I want to do them, then there are 68 other companies in Florida they can work for.
68 other companies.
68. We did it. We did a tally the other day.
Wow.
And there are 68 companies that are active in Florida right now.
Each one's the best. Each one's the best if you ask them.
You know what? I don't have a world champion. We're not intercontinental. We're simply Ignite Wrestling. I know what my role is in indie wrestling. I am just an indie wrestling company, and I don't claim to be anything more than I am, and you'll never see my ass on a poster or my face on a poster. But, I do go out and I network and I promote the company and I go on podcasts and everything, but I know who I am and I know what I am, and I think that's a thing that comes with age, that I'm more comfortable that I don't have an ego to feed. And I think
that's hard that sets you apart already from the 67 other wrestling federations that are there. I mean, that is, a lot of them do it because of the ego trip thing. And I was going to add on the list of things that make for terrible promotions. How about you have 9 matches on a card and not one of them has been booked at the same time as the others, so that nobody goes over any of the booking. So you have at least 3 of the matches have the exact same finish as the other ones.
We go over all that. The guys kind of call certain moves. Nobody's allowed to do the same finish. That's been since the beginning, because we had, I think it was I'd say the first or second show, there were like 8 super kicks, and I'm like, did I miss something in the back? because I don't remember saying everybody in this show needs to do a super kick.
Well, what happens is that all the guys go out in the back separately. They do their own matches, and nobody pays any attention to what anybody else is doing for what they're going to do on the show. So you have these guys who just saw it on Raw, just saw some move on Raw or SmackDown or AEW that's so hot and wonderful, and they say, well, we'll do that too. And then there's 6 other guys on the card that say they're going to do that move also. And by the 12th time, then you've seen it in the ring. It gets absolutely as much pop as 12-day-old cornflakes in the bowl.
But it's overused now. On AEW last night, for example, the guys that are most famous for doing the super kick and the super kick party, the Young Bucks, they were doing it in their match, the main event, but one of the brothers was in there. But all throughout the matches, there were super kicks all over the place, and it's now just a transition move. It's not like Shawn Michaels or Cowboy James
Chris Adams
as a finisher. It's just transition, which really bothers me when you see somebody held up for 40, 50 seconds in a suplex, a vertical suplex. It's not a finisher or figure 4. Let me ask you, it sounds like, are you head booker? Are you participating with other bookers? Are you the
No, I'm the booker.
Nice.
I had someone that helped me briefly, and that was a nightmare because he wanted to book his buddies, and I didn't like the way the matches were being called. I mean, I understand I'm not a wrestler and I've never been a wrestler, but I know what from a fan's perspective, what I want to see and what people are popping for. And just because you're guys that you were training with or learning this move, I don't need to see it because. But no, I go over, except for 2 people on the card, I talk to everybody. They tell me what their finishes are. I know what their main things are. The video guy knows what their main finishes are, so we have him in place. So there's a lot of communication that goes on. So we get the best product, especially for video.
Tell me about your video production, because to me that's always the holy grail of indie wrestling, is if you've got a good TV. Yeah, if you've got good video or not. Unfortunately, my Fed, California Championship Wrestling, we were in that early 2000s time where it was very hard to make a quality video production without spending a lot of money, and maybe you found a way to get around that. So explain that if you could.
I have a guy named, his name is Eric Spring. He runs Gorilla Press, so he does a lot of concerts and everything. We do a 2-camera setup, and he knows these guys, he's done these shows, so he knows a lot of their moves, he knows their finishes, and his camera is phenomenal. I mean, the quality is just excellent. But, finding somebody that wasn't, and, this is a problem in wrestling, that's not a jerk or a pedophile or just a lousy cameraman is hard. But we lucked into finding Eric through Eric was friends with the guy that is now our commentary team, the young professor in Styx, Matt Grafer. And Matt recommended Eric, and Eric's been phenomenal. He's been with us a couple years now, and he does the main 2-camera edits, and then I add all the overlays and everything else to it.
Wow.
For the
Kim, let me throw this in for a second. I know a lot of the indie wrestlers think of their promotion and their promoter as a quote-unquote family. And quite often I'll say to them, also as an older person, I'll say, well, maybe they should be paying you. Maybe it shouldn't be, a handshake and a couple of frankfurters or whatnot. And once they're gone from the promotion, they've moved on to married life, fatherhood, whatever the case may be. They never hear from these people again. So it seems to me that forget the family, treat it as a business like you do and pay them fairly. And, I think they have to remember it's the wrestling business. It's not a substitute for a family. What's your take on that?
I think that, you're absolutely right. I've had people that, and I had a lot of people want to call me mom, and I've said that before. Buttering up to me isn't going to change anything. Come do what I ask you to do. You're paid to do something. At the end of the day, I'm not their family. I'm their employer. I've contracted them to do X, Y, and Z. I'm friends with them, and there's people that have worked for me that have gone on or, got injured and no longer wrestle. I'm still friends with them. I still talk to them on social, but I wouldn't consider them family, because I think if I actually needed them, they wouldn't bother to show up, to be honest. I live hours away from them.
Right. I have a friend who came down with COVID. He was on a respirator. The doctor said you may or may not make it, part of a wrestling promotion. And he realized the vast amount of wrestlers didn't so much as give him a call. And he was very disillusioned at a young age. And, I said to him, in this life, you learn who your true friends are.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you'll find out, and I've told this to other people, when a lot of these guys are like, well, I just appeared on AEW, or I was over, had a Ring of Honor trial, and now everybody's being my friend. I'm like, yeah, it's because they're fake.
Yeah.
You're going to find out who's going to be there and who's not, especially like hurt your knee and find out who's there when you're rehabbing your knee.
Yeah.
And who's checking on you and who's asking you once you take a bad bump at a show. That's when you find out who your friends are.
Absolutely. I have one final question. Underneath that black belt behind you, what are those little things?
These?
Yeah.
What are they bottles?
We have our own line of hot sauce.
Wow.
Really? That's awesome.
Inferno hot sauce. It's a garlic habanero we sell.
Who's the wrestler
That's
depicted?
good.
Looks like Brian Cage, maybe.
It's just a
Generic.
He's a little generic dude. Because my champion swears it looks like him because he's bald, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. Guy's got more muscles.
It was about your promotion, and with so many, and Florida may take the record away from states like Pennsylvania in terms of promotions and promotions to schools, etc. So Florida, it sounds insane promoting there. So tell us about your promotion, and also, is it primarily based on ticket sales, or do you have TV, or do you charge for streaming, views of streaming? How are you handling, this very complex thing outside of your fan base?
From the beginning, I was on Roku from the second show. So I'm on Roku, I'm on Fire TV, I'm on Independent Wrestling TV, I'm on Pivot Share. I have 29 collaborations with other companies, such as High Spots Network, through Pivot Share. I've got a digital magazine on Zinio. I've got a trading card line, a hot sauce line, apparel line. We honestly, ticket pre-sales are the least amount of money we make on pre-sales. The bulk of what we make at a show is at the door, but the bulk that we make overall for a show is on video views and trading cards and everything. So, I've tried to diversify it as much as I can. And like during COVID, we started a little feature a couple months back called Ignite Rewind. So I'm playing one classic match, one newer match every Tuesday and Thursday, just to keep content up, because I only run 3 times a year. I'm not like, it's Friday, first Friday of the month, let's have a show. I only do 3 shows a year because I feel that, number one, it wears me out. Number two, it's more of an event and people look forward to it. We get more of a response from it, as a special event instead of, oh crap, there they are again,
Last question: Who have come in through your doors? Who've come in and out? Who've some of the names? Because obviously, it sounds like you're very successful. So I'm sure you've had some great players.
Cahagas, the Tokyo Monster, Lindsay Dorado, Leo Rush, Lacey Lane, Santana Garrett, Danny Birch, Serpentico, Kylan King. I'm blanking on names. Rachel Ellering's worked for me. There's been a lot. Usually it's people that are on their way up. I don't do legends. Very, very rarely. Cahagas was a friend of, a friend of our referee, Randy Eller. So we brought Cahagas in twice.
He's great.
He's a great guy. I love Paul. He's cool. We've had him. We've had the Dirty Blondes. We've had Calvin Tankman. We've had Fred Yehai.
Fred's awesome.
Oh, he's a sweetheart. He rode a bus from Iowa to Florida to do my show because he didn't fly. And I'm thinking that's dedication to ride a Greyhound all the way from Iowa just for a show. But, we've had a lot of them that have come through. And we counted it up, and there was like 50 some people that have appeared either somewhere on television, either as, enhancement talent or otherwise. And we've had over 175 that have appeared in our shows total, wrestlers, over 5 years. And we've only done 20 shows.
Congratulations.
Now, I'm going to ask something that I think all the fans have on their mind, and that is, how is that sauce on ribs?
That sauce is excellent on ribs. It's about a 50,000 Scoville. I'd say 40, 50,000 Scoville. It's got a little snap to it, but it's not crazy. But if you look at my YouTube, you'll actually see my husband and I, because we got bored, we actually, on our Ignite Wrestling YouTube, do a feature called Ignite Eats. And he's been having me do Ghost Reaper Doritos and Carolina Reaper Fudge. And you get to see, I'm like crying, trying this stuff. But I finally said, listen, dude, we got to do some like milk chocolate and some German chocolate and some chips. I can't do this every week. I'm going to burn a hole in me.
You should go on Shark Tank with the sauce and a couple of like big wrestlers. That would be colorful. Yeah.
Oh, who knows at some point. Someday I'll be on now. I do want to do something nationally on national television. I'd love to do an interview. That's my bucket list.
Well, we try to do the best that we can here on Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast. At least you'll be on YouTube, as if that's
absolutely. Hey, this has been on my bucket list too, because I follow Evan a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Well, now we'll be following you. In fact, if you can tell all our fans how they can follow you and get a hold of you, and what your social media stuff is like, if you're up for our fans.
All of our social media is at Ignite Wrestling. We're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Snapchat, we're on TikTok. That's new. Our YouTube channel, everything at Ignite Wrestling, Fire TV, and Roku. Also check the hashtag #WeAreIgnite. That is our Roku hashtag as well.
And when you are ready to do another show, I would really love it if you could come back and promote it with our show again. You've been an absolutely fabulous guest, and we would love to have you as a repeat guest. I want to work for you. You are what every wrestler, I think, wants deep down to be treated like by a promoter, and that kind of straightforwardness, or at least the wrestlers you want to work with are the kind of wrestlers that appreciate your approach, and no wonder why you've been able to be so successful in what you do.
But also, she grew up as a fan. That we respect a lot, not a neophyte, but somebody who, as you say, been watching for decades and decades and decades. So you have my ultimate respect on that.
Yeah, I tell people I'm not really a mark, but I'm a fan, because I think there's a difference.
But you're a very smart fan, and
I'm a smart mark.
You've channeled it in a very mature and level-headed fashion, and I wish I could say that about more promoters that I've worked with over the years, but I can't. So
Kim, I had a promoter once say to me, I ran 19 shows, lost money on 18, but I'm going to keep going, like he's on a mission, like a religious fervor. And so when I hear somebody level-headed like you, I go, it's the wrestling business. It's a business.
I mean, Kim, how many other female promoters are promoting currently? I mean, Dixie Carter, long out of the business, and her problem was being on camera too much. Sounds like you're not doing that.
I believe there's 2 over in the UK, but I can't remember their names. There was a girl in Louisiana named Brittany Holton, but I'm not sure she's still with that company, Elevate Pro. Because I believe she moved over to Texas because she's doing stuff with Mission Pro with Thunder Rosa now.
Well, you keep doing what you're doing, and I hope that you're a huge success.
That's right.
And we'll really be on the look for Ignite to climb up and impress all of us outside of Florida. Hopefully we can raise a California. One of these days you can do a tour to California, and we'll get booked out here.
I'd have to put like regular pants on and shoes and leave my house. I don't know. My venue's only 5 minutes from my house. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you being on the show, and we'll have you on again soon.
Well, thank you so much.
Have a great evening.
Thanks.
All right, let me give our next. I got to tell you, when you find a promoter like that, that's somebody that's made out of gold.
Yeah.
And it's not the Roland Alexander experience. I'll say that.
It's a rarity, and then she has to take more abuse because guys often think they can manipulate women in power, and that's not true with her. She's not going to put up with bullshit.
All right. Do we have our next guest here tonight?
Chris Michaels. Do I photograph?
Chris, can you hear us?
Do I fear you?
Yes, you can.
No,
we
here.
We can hear you, but you need to turn on your camera.
Sight.
Chris, you have to put on the camera.
Yeah,
My camera is on. Oh, wait, hang on a second. I clicked the camera thing, but I guess it didn't go on. There we go. Okay.
And there we go. We have liftoff.
I see that.
We have your initials.
Got my initials.
It'll kick in.
Okay.
It'll kick in. You have it started, but it just hasn't.
I know what might be
kicked in.
This audio's great.
I think I figured out what could be a problem. Let's try it again.
There we go.
Here we go.
We have your We have your backdrop, but not you.
Well, because my backdrop is in a different location than my computer.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Here we go.
There we are.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Cheers.
Welcome.
There you go. So let me give him an introduction. This is my buddy Chris Michaels, one half of Team Splendid. He was the former ECW tag champ with Johnny Hotbody, the Suicide Blondes. He also worked for the notorious Herb Abrams. Also worked at WWE, wrestled all the legends. Chris Michaels. How are you, Chris?
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, listen, I'm doing great. Dr. Mike Lano.
Yeah, Chris.
Seen you with many a Tommy D show back in the history of my wrestling time.
Which of the two guys passed away? When I used to come to all of those shows and Coraluzzo's and Joel Goodhart's, it was a lot of hot body Tony Stetson. Was it Tony Stetson who passed away?
No, that was Larry Winters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Larry Winters died. He was great.
So Johnny and Tony are still alive.
Yes. I keep in contact with him every so often because of Facebook. Johnny, I haven't heard. I was supposed to call Tony a while back. We never got a chance to. But I think Johnny was having some health issues and whatnot. But I haven't heard anything since. So I'm hoping that no news is good news.
And speaking of no good news, I just want to acknowledge once again the passing of yet another indie wrestler that we knew, Aaron Fenzi.
Mr. Thursday Night.
Mr. Thursday Night, yeah. And a nice guy, and I would say he was in his 40s, relatively young, and nobody seems to know what happened. But
all I got was the first I've heard of this.
Seizure, but that was really it. And the funny thing is, he relocated to California. I didn't even know that. He was a New Jersey guy for the longest. I didn't even know he moved. That goes to show you.
Carmine's doing the witness protection thing in Wisconsin.
Wow, Aaron's a Facebook friend of mine. I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, he died a few days ago. Yeah.
Oh my God! Wow, that is incredibly sad.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is that we're all older than this guy. It's like we kind of like sit there and like there's been several younger guys that just dropped recently, and it's like, wow. And I was like saying on the phone to Evan earlier, I'm like, well, geez, are we blessed to see another day, or are we actually being punished to live another day on Earth? I don't know which is the one, but I'll go with I'll take the punishment. As long as I can feel pain, I'm still alive.
It's a good point. So, hey, since I'm kind of new to everything that you've done, can you tell me how you got started in professional wrestling?
All right. Well, it'll go back to my Army days. I was stationed at Fort Polk, Louisiana, in the 1980s. I was there from 84 to 87. You know, of course, minus basic training and all of the crap. And down south, you had Mid-South, you had NWA, you had World Class Championship. Was it World Class?
Yeah.
So you had a lot of the territories were based in that area, especially Mid-South, which I absolutely loved. And Boyd Pierce, the guy that came out there, that if there was 2 shows on TV during that era, that if you ever wanted to adjust your TV without using the color bars, it would have been Boyd Pierce's Jacket or the Donnie and Marie show.
Yeah. Boyd was a super nice guy. We were friends with him, Mike and I.
He came to our convention, the Sam Munchnick St. Louis thing in '91.
What a good guy. Yeah.
So where did you get your training at?
I got my training from a wrestler by the name of Mark Tendler.
Oh, yeah.
Not really very well known out here because I don't even know if he was a mid-carder back in the days he was working. But he was married to Kitty Abrams for a short spell.
And then, so how long did you train for?
Well, this is the interesting part. I didn't train in a ring. You know, like you always hear about the Hearts and the dungeon and all this other kind of stuff. Well, we had Mark Tendler's garage.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a ring. So I had to learn how to bump on a garage floor that just had 2x4s, plywood, and a little gym mat. So imagine getting over the fear of landing backwards on something with no give at all. So that's to give you an idea of the difference of then versus now. Back then, you got jumped in like you were joining the Latin Kings or the Crips or the Bloods. They beat the dog shit out of you. And with good cause, because they wanted the jock sniffers out. They didn't want the fanboys. Well, fast forward, sports entertainment, now we're filled with charlatans and fanboys. So, it's like the business we're tanking, and it's like pretty soon we're going to be our future is going to be the fate of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, because wrestling is far from politically correct. So I'm waiting for cancel culture to try to dig their claws in. I like that for a rant.
Yeah.
Well, that's true with all the Tri-WF and WWF stuff being totally expunged, cleaned of any fun stuff, or if you watch Bill Maher last night, it applies to wrestling. He said something to the millennials and all this cancel culture BS. What did he call it? There was before Christ, AD, and now it's BY, before you. And then, shows like 2 millennials, their heads explode when he goes, yeah, there was shit going on before you.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't.
Well, that's the thing with coddling kids. You coddle them and you want to protect them, put them in bubble wrap and set them loose in the world. You can't do that. They have to live and learn and make their own mistakes. And, you got to give them some degree of trust and say, hey, listen, whatever I instilled in them, go forth. But the thing that to coddle your kid and then turn them loose onto the world totally unprepared it's like socially promoting kids in schooling, then sending them to an Ivy League college. It makes no sense.
It's like overprotecting them. That's why we have all these peanut allergies. I never heard of that stuff at all until, 7, 8 years ago. Let me quickly just ask, because I photographed you many times. Hopefully we'll connect and I can send you a lot of those photos. But I shot all of Herb Abrams' TV on the West Coast. Did you come out here for that stuff? It was in Reseda and around where John Tolis lived in Woodland Hills.
No, the West. I only did the Penta stuff, the Hotel Penta.
Okay.
And the funny thing was it's like you could see like from the first show and then like the other taping, like the first one was packed, and then the other taping was kind of less and a little less and a little less, and I guess his heart was in the right place. The guy was definitely driven. I mean, if nothing left, the guy was definitely driven. and maybe for just his demons did him in, but I loved him. Herb was a great guy to me. He was the first guy to put me over on TV. So for me, that was cool. I mean, even that was before I had my time in ECW. So that was nice for me because I spent most of my time making everybody else look good.
So tell me about your transition to ECW and what that was like. How were you informed, or did you try out for ECW, or how did that happen, and how did you hear about that you were added to the roster?
I had heard about ECW promotion from a good old friend of mine who I haven't heard from. I just reconnected with him recently on Facebook. Used to write for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. His name is Bob Smith. Mm-hmm. And he introduced me to Todd Gordon. And at that time, for you young kids, back in the day, back in the Stone Age, when guys like me broke in, we had to get a VHS tape, put it in an envelope, get 8x10s, put that in an envelope, a little bit of a bio about yourself, put that in the envelope, seal it, return receipt, put it in the mail, pray to God the promoter opens it and even looks at the damn thing. So things are different now. Email, link, boom, boom, boom. Here's my highlight reel.
So worked for Joel Goodhart's TWA, which was the predecessor, because Todd Gordon was there doing gopher work for Joel.
Right. I was there after the Goodhart years.
Okay.
Just after. That's when they were just starting out in the sports bar in Philly, where they were starting to do their shows. They had actually started putting their wrestling on cable access, as most guys do on a shoestring budget, just to try to get the product out there. And this is one of the few times that the cable access actually paid off.
That was kind of a magical point for ECW, because when you were there, wasn't Eddie Gilbert and Kevin Sullivan and Terry Funk? They were doing the booking, or was primarily Eddie, who was a genius?
Eddie was the guy that gave me my first break, as far as business-wise was concerned. We did a show at some college in Pennsylvania, like someplace off the Pennsylvania Turnpike, in the winter. I remember because my father was still alive then, and it was their inaugural TV taping. Plus, it was like a tryout for several of us guys from around here. So I went with my father. We went down there, had my match. Funny you'd mentioned Tony Stetson and Larry Winters, but hey, guess what? I had Lance and I, one of the Samoan boys, when he was just first breaking in, and who else was me tag teaming, which we did look like a tag team. He was the Samoan Warrior, that was what he went by at the time, and I went by just Chris Michaels from New York. And the first thing I did was, start ripping on their sports teams, which of course get instant heat with Philly people. So started with that. And match went really nice. They went over. But then about a week later, get a phone call from Eddie Gilbert, which, completely blew my mind. I was like, hey, we don't have about a 45-minute conversation. And he said, one of the things that I'd like to do with you might get you some heat with the boys, but after watching your tryout match, you took me back and you reminded me of a young Eddie Gilbert trying to make it in this business. And I was like, wow, what a compliment. I was like, holy crap. He compared me to him, and I'm like, geez, I guess, and all the stuff I had out there, like a guy that just saw potential in me. And then he said, I'm going to put you with Suicide Blondes tag team. We're going to do it like a Freebirds rules type thing. Any one of the guys in the the trifecta or whatever you want to call it could come out with the belts and whatever. And then started from there, and that's where it picked up from that point. And then we had the Super Destroyer feud, my feud with Wildman Salvatore Bellomo, rest in peace, Sal. One of the greatest guys I ever worked with ever, because he was from the time when worked a match and told the story, and the guy was great. The guy was as humble as anyone could be, So I had great people in my background that helped push me along, so I was really appreciative of that.
Wow, well that's great. In fact, a little side note was that in the early '80s, I went to a match with Salvatore Bellomo in it, and me and my friends had really good seats, and we started a Salvatore Bellomo chant. Even Salvatore himself was like, "Wow, someone's actually a section of is rooting for me," and he was kind of blown away with that. So that's my I do remember the Salvatore Bellomo chant that we got going for him. But
yeah, it was crazy because they had at that time. That's when another great, when Sherry Martel was with us, another one, God rest her soul. She was with him coming out. So they partnered her with him. They called him Wild Man Sal, the kiddies' pal. They were trying to market him with the kids. And with that crazy outfit, everybody was calling him the guy from the Little Caesars thing. They all called him Pizza when he came out. So that was like kind of a cool. And I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I believe that I'm the first guy that ever bumped a woman in ECW. When we started the feud with me and Wildman Sal, when I gave Sherry the shove over Hunter Q. Robbins. Did the old thing where, you did get on the old fours behind somebody's back and then boom, the shove.
The traditional schoolboy.
Like instant heat for me.
That's the traditional schoolboy, I think.
Well, it was. Well, like the prank kids playing school. Someone will get on their hands and knees.
Yeah, that's the school
behind you, and then someone just boom, just gives you a shove and knocks you on your back. That was that kind of move. Just like did one of those. Like, but boy, the instant heat. Well, it was especially with that, and then it just became a regular thing, and then it morphed from guys bumping chicks to whatever they did in ECW to now this intergender crap, which makes me want to shove my hand down my throat, grab my uvula, and puke. I hate it. That intergender stuff is the drizzling shits, and I'm saying it right now. I don't like men beating up women, and if you're a guy and you enjoy that, you need to have your head examined. That to me does not make sense because I have daughters, so I'm gonna and I have sons, so I'm gonna teach my boys. Okay, well, she had it coming, What the hell? I don't like. I like the old way. The guy tags the chick. The guy has to tag the other. Then they come in girl versus girl, guy versus guy. I don't like that mixing it up crap. Yeah, women all powerful stuff. Yeah, I understand that, but that gives open license to a douchebag that has no screw to go ahead and start, cold cocking chicks. I don't like it. I just don't.
Chris, let me before I throw to Evan, let me just ask you something. So I was just going to ask you, and you pretty much answered what I was going to ask without me asking about your thoughts on today's wrestling. We were talking with a female promoter who I can't even think of any in the U.S. now, and I'm sort of a historian going back to Ann Gunkel, Sheik's wife, and there've been a couple before Dixie Carter. But your thoughts on today's business? We were talking with her about like all these former great finishers or the Stan Hansen lariato, just transition moves.
I knew that was coming.
A fuckload of pardon my language, of super kicks, a lot of way too many super kicks, and they're not even finishers.
Oh, you mean the thigh slapping super kicks that they finally, and Evan will tell you ad nauseum. I sit there and thigh slapping leg kicks. Why? If you're in the nosebleeds and you can hear somebody getting kicked in the face, shouldn't the law of physics mean that guy should be on the ground gasping for his breath? It doesn't make sense.
In a street fight, it's important to slap your thigh before you hit the guy.
Well, yeah, you want to have that dramatic effect with the Foley. To me, it looks like you're at a backyard barbecue and you're being attacked by mosquitoes. That doesn't look, But let me put over one company. Where the heck did I? See, I'm at the jump at it. Go off camera side for a quick second. I should have had it right next to me. In the back. See how quick that was? There's a company that we work for out here. I want to put over Team Splendid. As you can see, I've got my Splendid shirt on.
And the banner behind you is Team Splendid.
We're the current New Age Wrestling Tag Team Champions. This is like an old school design belt that's actually cast. It's not the old fashioned crap that you put on the belt.
It looks really nice.
Thing.
Yeah, it's a good belt.
This belt was actually made, if I could find the plaque. Here it is. I don't know if you can make it up close. It's made in the memory of a person that was killed by gang violence up in Massachusetts. Oh. So this wrestling company, aside from all the other companies out there, a Christian-based wrestling company, and they're all based on stop the violence. That's their theme. So the only violence that we want to see is in the ring. So, and it's a place for trying to send a positive message to kids that may not have a positive male figure. A lot of boys, especially without fathers, turn to gangs because they don't have, they want that feeling of family. They want that, that masculine role model. And, we want to try to at least give them something.
Well, it's Father's Day Eve, so that's an appropriate sentiment, as we are on
Father's
Day.
Not birthing donors or whatever the cancel culture is going to want to start calling fathers now. Donating whatever. I just don't like calling mothers birthing people. It's like George Carlin, he's probably rolling in his grave right now. I'm telling you.
He's on a rotisserie.
I told you so.
George Carlin's on a rotisserie right now. Maybe if he was smart enough, he would have gotten cremated before all this happened, just so he wouldn't have to roll around in his grave. But so tell me some of your highlights of when you were in the ring. What would you consider some of your best matches?
Well, I never really rate myself as how good I was, as how good I made the other guy. I never really cared so much about myself. Maybe that's why when everybody's like, "Oh, are you just a jobber, this, that, the other thing?" I said, "Yeah." Did you really think that if I didn't want to lay down, I could have kicked up at any time I wanted to? I said, that's got nothing to do with it. I said, you're in a business where you got to do work. So my best, I should say, I think my best match as far as having it as a memory sake, because the two of them that were with me are no longer here, was my match against Bam Bam Bigelow when Sherry was my manager. Probably the best ever, because Scott didn't do anything. He just laid in his back the whole time. Didn't even break a sweat. I said, "This is the easiest $500 you ever made." But it was a good match because all I did was, he's the big guy. I just worked his leg, and that's it. Worked his leg. He got up, made the comeback, kicked his leg, boom, back down again. He loved it. And I looked at it. He goes, "You're gonna have a good tape to send to promoter." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, good." I said, "Thanks to me, you don't have to wash your gear today too."
That's hilarious.
But I think of course, a lot of my good memories of WWF time is, I guess when I looked up on the board and saw my name underneath Ric Flair, and I was like, wow, what the hell am I going to do? Because I broke in '89, so by '91, and I think what Flair got to them like around, what, '92?
Correct.
Right. So I'll never forget this too, because it was like right in the middle of the year in '91. My first match was Sergeant Slaughter. It was right before the match Made in Hell with Hogan and Warrior and the Sheik and all of that. And I was the last thing they had before the pay-per-view. So I caught an ass whooping. Wrestled Slaughter, did my thing. I did that Ric Flair bump out of the corner where he runs in, grabs the ropes, hooks, runs to the side, climbs. So, funny part about this story, I'm with my sons in a Sears out in Long Island in the TV section when they were broadcasting Wrestling Challenge or Superstars of Wrestling. Every TV in the store was on that channel. I hear, "Italian!" I'm like, no way. It can't be. Turn around, sure as shit, my match. I'm looking around. I'm like, is anybody in the store? I'm like, okay. So I'm with my kids, sitting there watching it, waiting for that Ric Flair bump, waiting. Edit cut. What the fuck? Gone. What the hell? No idea that they were already in negotiation with Flair, and I stole his heat by doing that bump, so they had to cut that crap out. Ain't that some shit? So
wow.
So they edited a lot of stuff out. They've retaped finishes. They've got a TV taping. They've redone certain things. Let's see, we're trying to think about my match with Undertaker, getting put in the body bag. I think pretty much any of the stuff that I did with them, because Undertaker was still relatively new. He had one tattoo. He still had the Bassett tracing on it. And he was, and these guys were more afraid of me than I was of them because they didn't know me. I'm just a new guy in the scene. They're worried, this guy gonna make me look bad in front of 60,000 people. So they put a lot of trust in me. New guy, green as shit. But I just did whatever they wanted. What do you need me to do? Tony Gurria, Rene Goulet. Tony Gurria used to call me Battle and Bill Pierce. Get out there and bump like a crazy machine. Because he knew I like to get out there and have fun. That's why, like in Hamburg, the thing coming up, I want to get down there. I want to see Tony Gurria. One time say, hey, you probably won't recognize me, but I'm the guy you used to send out there to put all your guys over. But that to me, I mean, even ICW, wrestling for the Savaldis, one of my first things, Angelo Savaldi when he was alive. What a blessing to meet that man.
But what about Mario, though, who I worked with?
Mario? I got along with Mario, okay? Is that his cousin Tommy was a pisser. I used to get it, like they always talk like back then. I laugh now because some of the indie guys are making less money than the guys were getting paid then. $50 at that time to go do a TV taping for the Savaldis. Back then we laughed at it. Now I'm looking at some of these guys on the indies are getting paid $35 for a house show. I'm laughing. I'm like, who knew we were actually getting good? And I was getting $150 a day because I was driving a ring truck, setting the ring up, jobbing at least 6 times a night to the TV tapings, breaking the ring down, packing the truck, and driving it to the next town. So I got paid more money than those guys did. But they were all the superstars.
Look at all the talent that came out of there, though. Dreamer,
Sure.
I think, Enemy, Taz, so many guys.
Yeah, he was, funny thing about Taz is it took him 13 years to be an overnight success. I remember him and Ray Odyssey having a tryout match while I was doing the preliminaries. And I'm looking like, Chris, how did you get here? I said, it wasn't by me. I happen to know, I knew this guy named Sonny Blaze, who happened to know John Arizzi, who had the connection with Terry Gorman. So everything was all, goes right into the oldest who you know. It's barely 6 months into business, or not even a year into business, and here I am doing TVs. Crazy. Well, I mean, at least as far as at least after I got in the ring and actually I made my first, my debut match. So it was definitely something that my Army buddies, I'm sure, probably looked on TV one day and looked up and said, "Holy crap, it's Sergeant Pierce," And that's the only thing I want to do, just say, "Hey, look, you're gonna see me on TV one day." I never thought I was gonna be a superstar. And then after seeing some of the horror stories on the road, guys like Danny Morello, Gorilla Monsoon's son, dying in that horrible car wreck with Harvey Whippleman. That could have been me one night. One night I was on the road with the guys. One guy fell asleep at the wheel while driving, and that was it. No more night driving for any of those other guys. I said, that's it. I'm driving. You guys are fired. They're like, well, what gives you the right? I said, I'll tell you what. I was a sergeant in the U.S. Army. I used to stay awake during road marches at night. I don't trust you guys. Why did one of you guys almost drove into the goddamn? We were going into a fueling station off to the rest stop, heading to the gas pumps. I said, no thanks. I don't trust you guys. You guys can't stay awake. And that was it. I was a driver for nighttime. I elected myself. I wasn't going to die with these fools.
So what is your next project? What are you working on now? What's the big things coming up for you?
Well, I mean, as you can see, my one little backdrop here. I mean, that's part of what's going on. I'm still going to continue to do my Team Splendid stuff, at least for a bit now, and then maybe we'll do an angle where we break up and do something. Who knows what we're going to do? It depends on how well the gimmick works. And see from there. We're going to be in the process here of knocking out a wall and building a sound studio in my basement. I actually had a studio built upstairs in one of my rooms upstairs, but then my younger daughter wanted a room to herself, so I had to dismantle it, take everything down, and then the COVID hit. So I was like, okay, well, the timing for that was good, so all my stuff is down here. So my intentions of doing that is for the guy sitting up on top of the screen, my buddy Evan. We're gonna get the Evan Ginzburg show at our own home location, like we used to have a home location at BAI years ago. So rather than dealing with people that have different political views that want to have you as a host take your money, but then talk crap about you behind your back, is not going to happen to my friend anymore. So
yes, that's a long sad story.
Yeah, that's for a whole different segment.
Yes,
but it just goes to show you that you really can have friends on different ends of whether it's religion, political, and other stuff, and respect each other for having God knows your own friggin' thoughts.
That's all code for Chris votes Republican, I vote Democrat, and he's one of my best friends. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Because at the end, see, I go the old way. Go in the booth, close the curtain. I do my vote in silence. Where everybody's now, it's the participation trophy generation now. I see everybody. I voted with the sticker. I'm like, are you shitting me? Are we going to start now wearing stickers? I was juror number 3 on jury duty.
Yes.
At what point do we stop praising ourselves for doing just regular crap? Holy mackerel! It's like
the sticker for I wiped.
Yeah, right. Well, that would that be a brown ribbon?
Yeah. So how can our fans get a hold of you if they want to check out your matches, if they want to see what you're up to with Team Splendid?
Well, you could find we have Team Splendid pages on Facebook. We have Simply Splendid Bobby C, which is on. You can find him on Facebook. Simply Sensational Fabulous. Now, it's spelling fabulous is a little bit different. Not like fabulous, not like that. But it's Fabio, like Fabio. I can't believe it's not butter, and LOUS. So it's fabulous. That's what that's like the whole gimmick is a goof on Fabio. I am fabulous. I can't believe you're not better. That's kind of like the gimmick. But you'd have to be old enough to appreciate it. So you got that on Facebook. And, of course, there's Chris Michael's page also on Facebook if you want to check that one out. You could also find I have a Wikipedia page that I did not make. Someone made it for me. I thank whoever that is that thought enough of me to think that I was deserving of a wiki page. But someone actually made one and it has my accomplishments on there. I had to edit out the stuff that wasn't mine because I didn't like having titles attached to me that I didn't actually hold. Where some guys would like to have that gassed up resume, but I'm not like that. I don't do that. I'm a military veteran, and I have a thing for stolen valor, and I don't care which capacity it is. I'm not going to pretend I'm something I'm not. That's just something called dignity. You know, it's or I say it's it's be true to yourself. You know, it's being a phony is just. And Evan will tell you, sometimes I'm honest to a fault with points. Like Evans is like sitting there going, "Oh God Almighty," and he's like trying to edit his Facebook comment, like, "No, wait, what the?" Yeah. But he knows that I'm, a lot of times I just go into heel mode, and a lot of it's just tongue in cheek. So that's the one thing. But he knows like there's certain things I won't touch. There's certain things I know where Evan has a soft spot that I won't go in there and say, "Hey, well, I think blah, blah, blah," but no, I'm not going to do that because, look, everybody's got that one, like if someone talks about pedophilia, I gotta think for that because of what happened to me as a child. So I've got beautiful things I'd like to do to pedophiles, but that's a whole other story. That's a whole different thing.
Maybe talk about it in another show, but you've been a very entertaining guest tonight. We really have appreciated all the things that you've gave us input on. Evan, did you have something?
Yeah, let me just throw in a quick plug. My buddy Mr. Big, they're running New Evolution Wrestling next Saturday, June 26th. It's called Summer Brawl, and it's at Battlefield Pro Wrestling, 137 Erin Lane, Broadheadsville, Pennsylvania. This is Summer Brawl. Mil Muertes is on the card, and Simply Splendid Bobby C is scheduled to be on the card. And on occasion, I walk out Team Splendid as their valet. So,
he's our chauffeur.
Chauffeur, yeah.
Yes, our chauffeur. And he taught. I love. And the funny thing is Evan is probably the only person I've met in life, other than my little cousin that doesn't have a mean bone in his body. And for Evan to go out there with his keys on his finger, "You peons will never ride in our limo." I have to try to I'm not going to bite my tongue. I'm trying not to laugh. And my favorite is also when Evan happens to pick out the fanboys with the replica belts so I can abuse them. I love it.
Yeah. That's also subject for another show.
Chris,
That's
That's another show, guys.
we go off the air. Just stick around for just 30 seconds when we hang up. And let me just plug Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, August 1st. I think it's a Sunday in Los Angeles at the Big Theater. It'll be a stacked card.
And let me just throw in one last thing on a positive note. Chris is wrestling at age 60. Bobby C is wrestling at age 50. Ageism is rampant. These guys put on a better match
and
than
just
a lot
to
of the
prove a
kids.
point, I'm gonna do this. For guys in our age category, I'm gonna do this. For us older guys.
60 years old.
I'm not taking off my tank top.
Yeah.
So
Probably more entertaining than pretty much everybody out there, I'm sure.
And here's the Team Splendid shirt.
there we go. Look at that.
There you go.
See that? See, I would have put it on, but it would have been too much
Oops.
purple with the tapestry I have back here.
My
So
backdrop
I want to put my wife over since we're talking quickly Team Splendid. My wife has done more in support with us from making by showing all the plumage on Bobby C's cape that he has, because his cape was very plain. If you look back to some of our old pictures, very plain. And in this one, actually, you can see the feathers were sewn on his collar at first and not on the edges. And then finally, I'm like, you know what? I wanted him to look a little more. We can look a little more in sync. Because this is what my wife made.
Wow.
Oh,
My
great.
wife is a
Nice
seamstress.
work.
And I just took a bathrobe. I took a picture of Ric Flair robe and I sent it to her and I said, that is what I'm doing it as far as in that kind of way, where some people think, is he trying to be Ric Flair? I said, no, I'm not like that wannabe Ric Flair guy that spent 10 grand to buy his robe. I'm not that shit. But I wanted to make something unique about us. And when we come out, everybody notices us because we have a different look. We come out old school. I come out with a mirror with no mirror. If anyone remembers Romper Room from years ago, Miss Louise with the magic mirror, oh, I see Julie and Tommy. That's where we got it from. Plus, Bobby C kept on breaking the damn mirrors. And the dollar store was running out of purple mirrors. I'm like, okay, forget it. Screw the glass. So we went without the glass. And it actually works out better because now they look at us like, what the hell are these guys looking at a blank thing for? So it creates some kind of talking point where at least the people, when we're wrestling a match, they're not in their phone texting their friends. They may be on their phone videoing us or taking pictures, but they're not disinterested with the 46-spot marathon that goes on with these spot monkeys. You know, you see one match, you've seen them all with those guys. It's just different gimmicks, but same crap. Same one guy standing there with 6 guys waiting for him to jump on him. You know, the same dopey crap.
The boys are allowed to bring into the ring and kick, shoot on anybody that's looking at their cell phone when a match is going. How rude. It's just so rude. Can't you be in the moment for like a couple of minutes?
Hey, it's just insane to me that you go to a place to be entertained and then you want to stay on the thing that you could be on all day long anyway. You know, I mean, if you're going live on Facebook and saying, hey, man, I'm at this great wrestling show, hey, I'm all for that. But you'll see, and I mean, we see it a lot where the fans they're not interested, or they're not, like I tell the young guys, when the fan screams boring, right away you jump up and you're getting ready to do a spot. Don't move. You're in control. If they're not saying boring, that means they're in their phone. At least they're paying attention. That means they're into the match. So, yeah, well, guess what? This reverse chin lock is for the guy in the first row. It's his fault. I do that. The hell with it. But it's like going to a Broadway show and like, yeah, right there. Perfect. Okay, good. See, they think they're the directors. Like, the kids are so into their video games, they think that they have joysticks and we're there so they can manipulate us and risk our bodies for their pleasure. Come on.
I like
That's why I can still do this.
I like the 350-pound guys who yell, you fucked up. These Olympic athletes out there. Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about a guy that does one sit-up a day. That's to get out of bed. That's it.
Yeah.
Did you hear this one? The great, I know Evan knows her, the great Broadway legend, Patti LuPone. I think somebody's cell phone, they were either looking at their cell phone or it rang during one of her performances. She stopped everything, broke the fourth wall, and just chewed this guy out and told security, get them out of here. Get them out, or I'm not going to do the show. And she had them removed. I mean, good for her.
Well, I mean, you know, it's like they're so damn distracting. It's like, for God's sake, it's like, can you disconnect for an hour? It's like, you know, it's like someone going on a plane that's a cigarette smoke and a guy's going through like 4 hours on a plane. Put the phone down. My God, it's 1984 was so right. And there they are staring at their screens. God, this guy was prophetic.
But if you are going to stare at your screens, stare at Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast, this week's show.
That's right.
And
if you're going to stare at your screen, stare at us old guys.
Very good. All right, we got to go. Thank you, everyone, for being on the show. We'll have you again sometime, Chris. You're very interesting.
That's my Hulk Hogan post for you.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone. See you next week.